guys, I'm going to show you how to use Qualtrics, just as I kind of get started putting together our survey for our participants. So the easiest way to get started is to go over here and just Google S, and then you can go to this URL right here, ufl.qualtrics.com. You'll log in. Wait for it. Okay. So there's quite a few different features in Qualtrics. We are just going to focus right now on making a survey, and this is starting totally fresh. And so you can copy something you've already used, you can use an existing one, but we're going to build our own. And we're just going to call it Advanced Theories, and we'll rename that before we give that to people. And I'll put it in a classwork folder, since I have surveys for other folders. Okay, so you start out, you have a blank survey. The first thing you're going to need to do is create your first item by clicking that, and then you get to choose what your item type is over here along the right hand side. And so what we're going to want to do is to start out with a descriptive text. You can choose how fancy you want it to be. We can do fancy, but that's something to deal with later. It's more of a detail. But what we'll do is we'll put the title of the survey here, and let me just check these. So if you want to get real fancy, there are options you can do, such as if they answer a certain way, you can skip a certain question and things like that. So that's something we'll actually create when we have our kind of rule out questions, so those that will kick people out if they respond that they are not in a K-Corp program or something, if that's the requirement that we have. So we'll have our title there. Because I'm explaining, I'm not thinking about the details of what's going in here. I'm just showing you guys this stuff right now, and I'll actually put the details in there and think about the content in a little bit here. And the next thing we'll do is to create another item, and we want this one highlighted. We want that one to be also descriptive text, so we'll say that one will be the informed consent block will go in there, and then let's see. We'll probably want to add a page break at that point, but first we need to have them say that they agree. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's do the informed consent as that block, and we're going to get rid of this, because we're actually going to make the informed consent a question. So the whole informed consent thing that we wrote is going to go there. And then we're going to have agree to participate and do not agree to participate. And then we can remove this extra choice this way. And so then that way we can add some logic to that. This is something I have not used a whole lot before, so I may not be able to teach you guys this immediately. Oh, skip logic. Maybe that's what we're trying. If do not agree to participate is selected, then skip to end of survey. That's what I was going for. And so then otherwise, it's just going to continue on with the whole thing. But if they do not agree to participate, it's going to give them the boot. And we can set up similar logic for our demographic questions, like I said, that might tell us that that's not someone who should be participating. Okay, and so then we're going to put in a page break, which is down here on the bottom right. And so then that says this stuff is what's going to show up first, and then they can proceed, and we will put in demographic questions. And we'll just do them one at a time. And like that, and we can add our choices here. If we need more choices, then you can see up here, you can make it 4 or 5 choices. Each time I click that, that adds. You also can allow people to choose multiple answers. So for like our, the race demographic, if someone was biracial, then they could, feasibly select multiple answers, and we could allow for that. But what we have is an other option, so we'll just stick with a single answer. And then what I'll have to do is, this is the race question, and there's other, and we allow them to fill in the blank below. Then we'll need to create an item below that. And what we need to do is to make this a different kind of question because it's not multiple choice at that point. So then that one would be a text entry. And that would allow them to fill the blank. And that would be for them to put there, not for, this is their text, not mine. That will show up when they're using it. And over here there are options. So if they're just filling in race, they probably only need one line, but you can also make it bigger, multi-line, if you really want them to write a lot. The form gives them some other options, some different ways that things can be done. And then there's this password option, which is interesting. But we aren't making them make a password. We really only need one line, so we're going to go with that. So that would be our demographic page. Then we will do another page break. Create a new item, and I will proceed with copying and pasting things from our scales. And so I don't think we're probably going to label our scales when we give them to participants, but you guys can give me your opinions on that. Let's get this loaded up. And so this is hopefully going to save some time that it's in a doc format. You should hopefully just be able to copy and paste things from this scale. Once I find the right page. There it is. And I'm going to keep in mind the scales. This is going to help with like knowing the reverse scoring. That's going to help later. And honestly, I haven't done any reverse scoring in Qualtrics, but I'm pretty sure that it's something that I can do. It's a pretty great tool. And then being able to separate things into the various scales is something we should also be able to do with Qualtrics. And that's just a matter of basically kind of like coding what belongs where. And so you can see here what the scale is, and we have not at all true to somewhat true to totally true. It looks like the document got a little bit out of whack, so I'll have to kind of make sure I know where things match up. It looks like 4 is probably somewhat, and 7 is totally. But what I'm going to do to get us started is copy and paste this into the question. And then we'll go up here, and there's 7 options. And actually, if we look at this, rather than multiple choice, there is a few other options here where we can do it this way with the matrix table. And we can do actually several statements. So why don't we do it this way? Let's put our text in here and put our instructions up there. And so we're going to need 7 scale points. And we can do, I think this one has like 31 statements, but what we probably should do to help people out with reading things is to do just 10. And then the nice thing is you can actually copy this item a couple of times. Where's that at? I'll copy the question. There we go. So I'm not going to fill everything in quite yet, but what I am going to do is put in not at all true, somewhat true, and totally true. Oh, it really wants us to. And there's some periods. Oh, I did not like that I put nothing for one of those. It took away one of my scale points. Oops. Okay, we're back up. Say that's what we're going to go with. And then I'm going to copy this question. Look at that. We got another one. And at this point, we can get rid of the instructions because they already have received those. And then let me copy it one more time to make it approximately the right number of questions. I think we're going to need an 11th one on that last one. So I add that there, and that totals 31 questions for this scale. And then I just go through, and because we already have a document that contains what we're doing here, as far as each item, I'll just go through and copy and paste. And then that will allow participants to take a look at each item, come through, mark where they fall on the scale, and this will actually kind of tabulate that for us in the end. So let's see. Oops, there's 32. So I'm going to add one more to that last one, make sure that's selected. And well, okay, so we'll do 11 for one, 11 for another, and 10 for the last one, and that gives us 32. There we go. Let's see what else. For our other scale, that's in PDF format, so I'll have to see if I can copy-paste things, but this copy-pasting is part of why this isn't going to take too very long. If you were typing in everything, you would have to type in all 50 statements or so. But it looks like this should be able to go along too, but keep in mind that the scale is different, and so this one isn't on an agree-disagree scale. So we don't want to copy this, although it is a 7-point scale, so we can copy it and make certain changes. So for the first of our TEI QUE short form, would be completely disagree to completely agree. And then because that one is 28 items, 30 items, we're going to do some copies of that one as well then. And we should add instructions for this because it's a new measure. In fact, what we might want to do is add a page break before that. So let me stick that in. This is nice in that you can kind of just put things in wherever. You can shift them around. So when you hover here, I can like scooch it up and down in the order. Let's see. There's some other things here that might be useful for you guys to know. Just, I would say come in here and explore these because there's all kinds of options. You got little smiley faces you can use. You can have people mark on images and then have that be something that you kind of analyze. What are some other interesting ones? Yeah, you can just put an image in too if you want to, something that might be informative or that you're basing your questions off of. And then the descriptive text gets a lot of different uses. So like I said, that could serve as instructions if you were giving instructions for the overall thing. You could have used that for the informed consent and then have a separate question for that, but I just chose to make that the question, just that large block of text, followed by the question at the end of do you agree, with the option for them to then respond. What else? Okay. Well, let's just save where we are, and it's saving as I go. I'll show you guys some surveys that I've made before. What's a good one that I can show you guys? I'll show you my teaching feedback. This is something I created so my students could give me feedback anonymously. So I used a text box to explain what I wanted them to do, and another one to further clarify, and then I just provided a few blocks for them. And if you're wanting to see the responses, you go to View Results for something like that. And you can choose to look at an individual's responses. And so you can see what they've input there as if you were looking at their form itself. And here's your download option. We can also look at some reports, and this might be something more useful for us for what we're doing in this class. You can kind of just see what people are saying about those things, kind of as a collection. You can go response by response according to the question. And honestly, I haven't used kind of the numbers end of the analysis much at all. My surveys have been pretty qualitative. I think that's probably about what I can show you guys. I've really been more on the creating end and like very simple types of questions and not a lot of analysis. When you come back in, you can go to edit a survey. And we want to do a different one. We don't want to edit that one anymore, so we're going to go back to our advanced series one using that menu. Oh, and I should show you, if you want to preview it, that's on that top bar there. And I'll show you what it looks like on a computer and on a phone. So, this will actually be a large block of text here explaining all of the stuff that the IRB has from us. That'll just be kind of the introductory title. Say we have agreed to participate and we will move forward. And you can actually go through it and double check that, like, okay, if I chose do not participate, does it kick me out? You can check that. And so that's what our demographic trial looks like. And at this point, we haven't forced people to respond to everything. Maybe as a group, we want to talk about that actually. Do we want to allow people to leave the page if they have left something blank, or do we want to let them opt out? I think that the way we have set up our informed consent, they actually can choose not to respond to everything. So we would need to kind of stick with that. So this is our first assessment page. And we could split that up into several pages if we wanted to. In Qualtrics, you also have the option of not allowing them to go backwards, I do believe. So that would mean that they would finish this block, move on to another page, finish this block, and not be able to go back. So you can kind of set that up the way you like to, depending on your purposes. And then, so say this would be our next assessment that we're giving them in the survey. And then there's a generic thank you that's at the end, but you can also write a special one. So I have a couple that are saved as one, like for my students, saying thanks for your feedback and things like that. So you can also save your answers if you're testing this, and you can just generally restart the thing. And you can also hide certain questions, which I think has to do with kind of the logic you've put into it, which is skipping or moving here or there based on their answers and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much what I know about Qualtrics. You can see that this opened up another tab for me to preview, so I'll just go back to the other tab. Oops, that's really nice of them. Oh, and when you're distributing a survey, that's one more important thing. So you can see that it's inactive, something that, if you activate it and let people start taking it and then change it, it'll let you know your data could be kind of altered. It may not be the best practice. Oh, sorry. So what we would need to do is activate your survey to collect responses. And since that's just a trial one, and I can make a copy of it to start a fresh one later that wouldn't be active, I'll go ahead and activate it so I can show you guys what it's like. So you can do this in a way that just emails the link to yourself. That's what I usually like to do. And then that way when the email comes to me, I can copy and paste it and send it to whoever I want. But you can have it go to whoever you want. And you can actually go to the library of people, I guess. I think I've only entered my own email address. I think you actually have to enter any that you want to send it to. So I would just send it to myself. I would send it down, and I would copy paste and actually email it and distribute it the way that I wanted to. without doing it through Qualtrics, but you do have to activate it before you do that. These are some other tools I don't think that we probably would use. And let's go back to the survey link. Maybe it will provide one on that page now. Yes. So another way to get your link rather than emailing it is to just get it here. And notice that that is anonymous. And so I think that that's really all you need to do. That's an anonymous link. You can do a custom link here. Not really sure what that does. And generating links that will expire. Kind of an interesting option. But you have to have an email address, it looks like. So there's lots of fancy features that I don't know about in here, particularly the analysis part of things, but it's really not that hard of a program to kind of just experiment with and play around with and sort of see what things do in a trial survey, and then just put that to use in whatever you're actually making. So that's my process, and hopefully that's helpful for you guys. It's really cool that UF provides this for us for free. So that's just ufl.qualtrics.com. Have fun!